back, all you cool cats and kittens. I'm sure everyone's got their math notebook ready to get their 14.1 part B on, right? Okay, alright, last week, we're in the same module. If you guys like that, we're in the same module. 14.1. Okay, so last week we were working with fraction exponents. So this week we are still doing the same thing. We're working with exponents and we're working with fractions, but we're also going to be working with whole numbers. And numbers that are focused on, our big focus this week is going to be negative exponents. So negative fraction exponents and then negative whole number exponents. All right, I don't really enjoy, here's your EQ, it's the same from last week. I don't really like the way that they did their first example. So if you're not following along in the first example, that's okay. I will break it down another way too. Okay, so let me just show you this way because everyone learns differently. Okay, so in this first example, we have 3 to the negative first power. Okay, so they already converted to 1/3, and I know we've worked a lot with imaginary numbers, so I'm going to show you how this is really rewritten. I'm going to do this guy over here. Blue, everyone likes blue, right? Okay, so we have 3 to the negative first power. When we're converting this, we put a 1. Ones always go on top, okay? Not because this is a 1. Anytime you work with negative exponents, we're putting that 1 on top. And then this guy, he's going to go down here. And this negative 1 right here is going to follow him, but he's going to lose his negative and go right here. So this right here is the same as this. They just already converted it. So, because 3 to the first power is 3. And then the 1 goes right here. So that's why there really should be an imaginary 1 right here. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and work with this next guy. Pause it whenever you need to write down examples. I know I'm moving and cruising here. I know you guys all watched my first video all the way through, all 8 of you. I'm just kidding. I know you guys all watched it, except forever give me that thumbs down. Don't worry, I will find you. Okay. Kidding. Okay, we have 3 to the negative 2 power right here, okay? Once again, they already converted it, so I'm going to rewrite that over here and break it down for you a little more. So we have 3 to the negative 2, right? Oop. I'm learning to draw a little better here. Okay. So we always put our 1 up top, and then this 3 goes down below. This 2 follows him right here, okay? So when we're doing the math on that, 3 to the second power is the same as 3 times 3, which equals, all my math fact buddies out there, it's 9. Don't get your calculators out for that. And then your 1 goes up top. So it's 1/9 right here. And that's why they were converting that, the 1/9 right here. 3 to the second power is 1/9. They just already hopped to it. And it's the same as saying 1 over 3 to the second power. There should be like a little 2 right here. Sorry, not a very good 2. A little 2. Right there. Okay, so it's the same thing. Okay, so we talked about this definition last time. There's my draw tool. Any number to the 0 power is defined as 1. Okay, that was last week. And this week, we're working with negative exponents. So if you want to write this example down right here, it's the same conversion we just did. Or if you want it with, if you just want the formula for it, it's right here too. Okay, so I'm going to go on and show you some more examples. I'm worse on this than I am on the TV. Okay, if you're following me along with your workbook pages or online on my HRW, I scrolled all the way down to the evaluate and practice because they did not give us very many examples for this. So let's work with 10 to the negative 2 exponent. So we're going to rewrite that as, get my little pen working here, 10. We have our 1 up top. We always write our 1 over 10 to the second power. Okay. Really need to work on my 2's here. Okay, 10 to the second power is really considered 10 times 10, two of them, right? Over 1. 10 times 10 is 100 over 1. Okay, so that's all you do. This number right here, he's going to follow on the bottom, always, okay? And this big guy right here, he's going to go on the bottom too, and it's always over 1. All right, so there's that example right there. This one, I'll do one more for good graces. Okay, so we have 1 over 56 to the imaginary first power is really just going to be 1 over 56. And we're done. When it has ones, they're really easy. It's when these numbers start to get a little bigger that they get a little more intimidating. But really, you're just doing that to the exponent and putting the 1 up top. But Mrs. Robertson, what about this guy? He's a fraction. Well, guys, I know how much you guys love fractions, just as much as I love fractions. I'm just kidding. You know I love fractions. So I'm going to break down what it looks like in a fraction form. All right. Okay, let me make my screen a little bigger here. All right, so this breaks down the same way. I know you're shocked, but it does, okay? The only difference is you're going to have to do some fractions. Fractions on fractions, which is very exciting. Okay, so we're still breaking this down the same way that we were. We have our 1 on top, okay? And then we have our 1/3 on the bottom. This whole guy right here goes right there. We have our 1 all the time on the top. And this 2 is going to follow right here. Okay, here's where the fun comes in. We get to multiply fractions and divide fractions. Super, super exciting, guys. Okay, I feel you guys rolling your eyes at me. Yeah. Some of you are excited. I can tell Aaliyah you're super jacked to be doing this. Thank you, Aaliyah. All right. So we have this guy right here, right? Okay. 1/3 times 1/3, right? Because it's to the power of 2. So we're going to do it twice. So that becomes 1/3 times 1/3. If this was a 3, it'd be 1/3 times 1/3. Not a turd, sorry, third. 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. Okay. If that number changes, if this was a 4, we'd have 4 of these in line right here. Okay. But luckily it's only a 2, so we're not doing as much work here. Okay. 1 times 1 gives us 1. 3 times 3 gives us 9. Okay, so this is now our new number without our exponent. So we're going to rewrite this guy. Put him over here. We're going to rewrite him as 1 and 1 over 9. But Mrs. Robertson, there's still fractions on fractions. Don't worry. I will show you. Okay, it's really not as complicated as it looks, right? You guys have divided fractions before. What is this saying? It's really saying 1 divided by, this is the divided by sign, right? 1 over 9. So we've done that before. We have our 1, okay? And we need to divide that by 1 over 9, okay? I like to rewrite this. This 1 right here always has an imaginary 1 underneath of it, right? So I'm going to, actually, I'm going to rewrite it up here. So it's really 1 over 1 divided by 1 over 9. You can divide fractions however you learned since the 4th grade. You know how I like to divide fractions. I like to keep this guy, flip this guy, and then multiply straight across. So I will rewrite that my way. 1, sorry, I'll do arrows where my mind's traveling here. Okay, so this is rewritten right here. I like to do 1 over 1 times 9 over 1. I skip, I flip this guy, and then I multiply straight across. Get the same answer. 1 times 9 gives us 9 over 1. And there's our final answer. 9 divided by 1 is really 9, right? So, all this quick work right here, the answer to this would just be 9. Okay, so if I'm going to just break it down really fast for you, I'm going to follow my arrows. I'm going to turn my arrows red here. Okay, so I rewrote this problem like this. This was step 1 right here. Step 1. This is how I rewrote it. Okay? Step 2, I had to get rid of this 2 right here. Okay, so in order to do that, I had to go 1/3 times 1/3. So this was my step 2 right here. Okay? And then I traveled because that's where my math brain goes. I needed space. So then I had to rewrite this as I still had my 1. My 1 never went anywhere, right? This is still my 1 right here. And now this became 1/9. Okay? So that was my step 3. I rewrote it back in its form. And I have to now I have to divide. I have 1 right here divided by 1/9. So there I traveled. Okay, I rewrote it. And this whole thing right here, this process right here, is all step 4. I just had to rewrite it, okay? I just had to divide fractions. So when I rewrote all that, I got him right here, and I had to do division of my fractions. 1 times 9 gave me 9. 1 times 1 gave me 1. 9 divided by 1 is 9. Okay, so that was my final step, is just dividing my fractions. All right. So if I'm going to write this a little smaller, really I would just say 1 and 1/3 to the second power is going to become 1 and 1/9, right? And then once I did all my division of my fractions, then it's going to end up as 9. Okay? All right, spent enough on number 4 here. Let's go to another one. All right, so what if we had to multiply it by another number? Okay, let's break that down here. So I am going to work with this guy first. Okay, he's the guy I want to work with because my 3 is pretty basic. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 times, and I got to break him up again. So I'm going to even put him in a bracket so I don't lose him. 1, I always do my 1 up top, over 6 times 2. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of I'm going to simplify this right here. So 6, not 6 times 2, sorry, 6 to the second power. So that really becomes 6 times 6, which gives me 36 over 1. Okay, that's what I'm left with. That's what this guy converted to. So then I have 3 times 1/36. Woohoo! More fractions, right? Okay, this 3 right here, all whole numbers are really over imaginary ones. So we can just multiply straight across here. 3 times 1 gives us 3. 1 times 36 gives me 36. That math was pretty hard right there, right? Okay, now I got some numbers here that can go into some other numbers. So I can reduce this number too. And if you can reduce. You guys all know how. So I know 3 right here, 30 can go into 36. 36 can be divided by 3. Okay, so if I take 36 and divide it by 3, I'm left with 1. 3 goes into 3 one time, right? How many times does it go into 36? Well, it goes into there 12 times because 3 times 12 gives me 36. Okay, so this is my final answer. 1/12. And there you go. That is it simplified. All right, more fractions on fractions. Here we go. Let's work with number 21 here. Okay, I'm gonna use, I'll switch it up. Let's do purple. Okay, so this is the guy right here that we are working with. Why is my mouse not following me? This is the guy right here we're working with. Okay, so once again, we are gonna break it up. And if you remember fractions, remember how we separate it. I'll remind you like we did last week. We're going to separate it the same way we did last week. The only difference is, okay, so right here, everything is always over 1, right? So that's our big 1 right there. It has nothing to do with these guys. This is just how we set it up. And this whole guy has to go down here. So we're going to rewrite that as 1/4 over, now it's going to be positive 3/2. Okay, so how do we break that up? Okay, remember it's the same thing we did last week except for now you have a fraction right here. So in order to break that up, we have to turn just like we did last week. So I'm just going to focus on him right here, okay? And then we'll put it back into this form. So that really becomes, remember our 2, we set it up like this. I don't know if you guys remember this, 1/4, okay? Because remember how we did that? And then this guy right here, he is right here, which this square root already means 2, but I'm just going to put it there so you know where he went, okay? And this 3 right here goes, whoop. And remember, however you want to do it, he can also go right here if you want to convert this first and then do that, or vice versa. He can go right here, the 3, or he can go outside here. I'm going to put him outside here just for the sake of organization. Okay, so that really converts when you're working with fractions. The square root, this guy right here, my 1's going to stay the same, right? Because the square root of 1, it stays the same. It's 1. So then what happens is, we're going to break this up again. It becomes 1 and square root of 4. And the whole thing still needs to be divided by, times by 3. Okay, so this is still this guy. We're not working with this guy yet. This is still this guy, and he's right here now. Okay? So then from there, I gotta put some math on that. So the square root of 4 is 2, right? Because 2 times 2 is 4. 2 numbers that make that number is 4. So I'm going to rewrite that again as 1 over 2, okay, times it all by 3. There, that's a little more simple to work with, right? We started from here and now we're here. Okay, so now we just have to multiply this guy by itself 3 times. So we have 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. All right, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8 over 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, so that's where he came from. That's where he is now. So now we can rewrite it. 1/8 is a little easier to work with now. So we can rewrite that as 1 divided by 1/8. Okay, well, that's the same thing as saying 1 over 1 divided by 1/8. I'm going off my screen here. Okay, when you divide, remember I skip this guy, I flip this guy, and I like to multiply. So I'm going to erase, no, I don't want to erase, I'm going to rewrite it as 1 over 1 times 8 over 1, which gives me 1 times 8 is 8 over 1. So my answer is just 8. So this is really 8. Okay, 8 divided by 1 is 8. Okay, so I'm going to break it down for you again. This whole guy needs to be rewritten like this. You guys have been doing this, okay? And then from last week, you learned whatever number's on the bottom has to go outside of the square root. What number's on the top is what the whole thing's being multiplied from. Okay, so that's where we got this big guy right here. Then from there, you just got to break down your numbers. Okay, and I probably should have put a little square root over this. So this square root does apply to the 1 and the 4. So I probably should have done this for you. I probably should have put the square root 1 and 1. However, the square root of 1 is 1. So I should have put that there. So square root of 1 becomes 1. Square root of 4 becomes 4. That's how I got rid of this whole square root guy right here. I had to square them both individually. Okay, they both were squared. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 4 is 2. Now I have to take this guy and multiply him by himself 3 times because it's to the power of 3. That's where I got here. I was left with 1/8. My whole 1/8 has to go on the bottom, right, underneath the 1. So he went here. And this is what I was working with. So let me put this in red. This 1 That's the guy that we just always start with. We always put everything over 1, right? So this whole guy right here, okay, he ended up as 1/8. Okay, we converted all him to 1/8. Everything stays over that big 1 that we know that's part of our little formula. And then that's how we converted it. 1 divided by 1/8 gives us 8/1, which is 8. Okay. Okay, all you awesome mathematicians out there that are still watching my video, you guys are awesome, and I will reward you for that. What I want you to do is I want you to write an unpopular opinion. So that means it's something you don't like that everybody else does like. Mine would be watermelon. I hate watermelon, and so many people like watermelon. And my second one would be seafood. I do not like seafood, and everyone always bashes me when we go out to dinner. So give me a few unpopular things that you do not like that everybody else does like in the comments on my YouTube video. If you're really cool, you'll like my YouTube video. Okay. If you do that, then I will give you a free problem. So if you did that, then if I post 5 problems, you only have to do 4. If I post 6 problems, you only have to do 5. If you write that. So if I know that you made it through the whole video and you write your opinion down below. Awesome. Have a great day, guys, and I appreciate you. Don't forget to get on Seesaw and get your assignment done.